The US dollar is fake. Never in the history of the world has any fake money ever survived. And we're doing the same thing. We just keep printing this money. And when I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad almost 25 years ago, people said I didn't know what I was talking about. I said savers would be losers. Now, today, there's quantitative easing, which is counterfeiting money. And then you have zero interest rates. And people are still saving money.
In this video, Robert Kiyosaki explains there's more to making money than having a fat bank account.
They just printed, I think, $500 billion in September of this year because the repo market is going down. And the average guy goes, well, what's the repo market? They don't know. So that's why it's fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. Our education system, it has been my rant forever. Why don't we teach people about money? Why is it? We all use money, but we don't teach people about it. Then they tell you to save money. Do you know why they tell you to save money?
I don't know.
Because the system of banking, it's nothing to do with communism or capitalism. It's the banks run the world. The rich run the world. They don't care if you're communist or capitalist. So when you save, so let's say you save $1 US or €1, 1 yen, the banking system can lend out 10. So the entire system is called the fractional reserve system. The fractional reserve system is also printing money. And then they tell you to save money. So they want you to save money so they can lend out your money 10 times. So your dollar became worthless 10 times over.
Here's one thing the poor and middle class majority don't get. The 1% rich often focus on assets that generate income, which could include debt. The 99% majority usually stick to stability and safety.
They used to pay you 10% interest on your money. Now it's at best 1%. And they're still lending it out 10 times. So that's why you don't save money, is because your money is becoming worth less and less and less and less and less. The banks are getting richer and richer and richer. Then they tax you on that interest they pay you. That 1% interest, if they pay you that much. Japan is 0. So when people say, how do I change my life? Well, you change those words. I wouldn't go to school because you learn nothing about money in school. I wouldn't get a job because if I have a job, I'm an employee. And then I'd pay taxes. And I don't pay taxes. And I don't save money. And I use debt to get rich. And I don't invest in the stock market. That's why I'm rich. And so the young people who are listening right now, they're saying, but that's what my mom and dad said. But that's what mom and dad say all over the world. So to the young people, I just say challenge or question what you've been taught. Because from the Bible, I'm not religious, the word becomes flesh. So if you say, go to school, they say, but I learned nothing about money. Get a job, you become an employee. If you're an employee, you work for money, I pay taxes. Then they tell you to save money. Why would you save money when the government's printing money? And get out of debt. Well, debt is money. I use debt to get rich. Most people use debt to get poor and invest in the stock market. I don't invest in the stock market. So when you wonder why so many people struggle financially, is they haven't challenged the hypnosis, the words, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay taxes. Until you question those hypnotic trances, you don't change. So when I was a little boy, I had Poor Dad and Rich Dad, saying, he's saying, go to school. My rich dad goes, what a waste of time that is, And the way my rich dad taught me is just playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. I learned about money. I learned to be a capitalist, not an employee. I don't pay taxes. I use debt for money. And I don't invest in the stock market. And when I say that to adults, they get angry at me. So, well, that's what I've done. I said, well, that's why you're poor. But when I said to young people, you have a chance yet. You have a chance. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying question the hypnotic trance put in your head. because that's what keeps people poor. So the big thing about risk here is this. In school, they compensate for risk by telling you to memorize the right answer. So in other words, these kids leave, young people like you, leave school thinking, oh, if I know the right answers, then there's no risk. And it drives old guys like me crazy. Because everybody's talking about millennials. What's wrong with them? You know, millennials are the most highly, in many ways, the most highly educated generation in history. They have the cell phone. They didn't get educated in school. They got educated on social media, on the cell phones. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest complaint about my generation is millennials know all the answers, but they can't do anything. And the reason they can't do anything is because you might hurt somebody's feelings, you might make a mistake, you know, and that just keeps you guys just trapped in this little box here.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I think millennial money is such an important point here, because if you're going to come into my world, old guy's world, or the information age, you've really got to understand what is risky and what is not risky. And in my world, if you play it safe, that makes you stupid. Because if you don't take risks, you don't get smarter.
Yeah.
You know, so you may know the answer, but you can't do anything.
What sets them apart is their willingness to take risks. And in the course of taking risks, both sides take entirely different paths.
If you're going to be successful, you've got to take some risk. And when you take a risk, you make a mistake, and you might learn something, because we're supposed to learn from our mistakes. Look at Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer in the world, and one of the greatest athletes. He's made a lot of mistakes. You know, he would not be a great golfer sitting in a room listening to a teacher who never played golf tell Tiger how to be a golfer. And so, but Tiger, remember, don't take any risk. Don't pick up that putter, don't pick up that driver. Don't hit something because you might go out of bounds. So don't take any risks. I never use my money. I don't need to save money. I use debt 100% of the time, and I don't pay taxes. So that's kind of what you find out in fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. Because every time a teacher told me, to get a job, I said, you gotta be kidding me. She goes, if you don't get good grades, you won't get a job. And I said, oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that, And the teacher would go, nuts. And they go, why don't you want a job? Because I'll pay taxes then. You gotta pay your taxes. And I said, well, what about this? So I took real estate courses, not because I like real estate, because real estate is about debt and taxes.
Right.
So the more debt I use, which is real money, debt is real money, the less tax I pay.
The more you make, the more you're taxed, which makes the majority middle class and poor poorer. The minority rich understand this, which is why they don't work for money.
Money is debt. I use debt as money. And everybody thinks getting in debt is bad. Well, who told you that? I think the stock market is for losers. Why would you put money in the stock market when it's manipulated? That's what I think about. So I'm always watching the manipulation going on behind the scenes. That's what my brain is focusing on all the time. And I don't pay taxes. The question is, how is it I don't pay taxes? And I can tell you. That's an important question, because most Romanians and most people in the United States cheat on their taxes because they hate taxes so much. But you don't have to cheat on taxes if you understood how money was working.
They create systems that generate income and learn how to use debt to their advantage. The 1% take on good debt to acquire assets to get rich.
But debt is money today. And so when I acquire an asset, I use debt. So what happens, I make money in my business, book sales. At that point, let's say I make $1 million in books. What I have to borrow is like $10 million in debt to buy a property. And because I borrowed the $10 million, I buy a property. And let's say the property is I buy $10 million, it's now $100 million. And all this stuff is the magic called financing. I pay no taxes. Mm-hmm. So the more debt I have and the more property I buy, the less tax I pay. It's called appreciation, depreciation, amortization. If you studied accounting, that's what you would learn. But most of these academic types live debt-free, and they own a house they call an asset,
and they drive their Lexus or their Toyota, and they wonder, what's wrong with me? But they never studied money in school.
I'm just saying out here to the young people, question this. Go to school, get a job, work hard, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt. Until that is questioned. And then ask the question, why would I be saying that at the risk of going to jail if it wasn't legal? That's the question. So guys, the rich get richer because what we do is legal, but you've been told it's illegal.
Amazing.
Say not paying taxes is legal if you're an entrepreneur, but it's illegal if you're an employee.